Good morning, good morning. How are you this Monday morning, June 1st, starting another month? Still the coronavirus is going on. Great devastation in the country, great unrest. But how are you doing? What's your reel this morning? What is it? What could it possibly be? I tell you, I woke up with anxiety, a little trepidation, wondering if this, has come with great force with the pandemic and the unrest in the country. It even though I'm drinking out of a cup that says it is well with my soul, I'm not quite sure how I'm feeling. I'm feeling that mothers raising young people, raising sons, raising daughters, or even for themselves, or for their husbands, their brothers, their uncles, um, that look like me, that are in the same color skin that I'm in. They're either brown or they're black, and so it's troublesome to me as to what our real is nowadays. Our reality is vivid. For those of us who are probably not looking at anything and still thinking that the world is fine, I give question. There should be great question with that, because the world is troubled and America is very troubled. And so, I just woke up like that. Woke up with an energy that says I have to say something. I have to say something about the real that's out there, the real I feel, and question the real that you have, about, what is going on in society, what's going on with our people. And it's not just any people, it's all people. It's not just blacks, because I feel, those of us who have experienced some trouble in our lives being, of a racist nature, we understand it. We understand it. And it is something that we can probably look and say it's systemic. It's something that was reared. I don't think children come here. Being a counselor, I really don't feel children come, um, with precondition or pre-notions of someone that doesn't look like them, that there's a prejudice in them. So I believe that it is reared. I believe that it's raised up. And so that's my trouble this morning. That is my trouble. But it's also trouble on the other side of those who don't look like us and are not having this conversation, just like we have conversations with our children about, what it is to be black in America, what it is to ride in a car and be stopped. And I can give you, probably about 2 years ago, oh, good morning again. My name is Sandy Winborn, and I'm stuck this morning. I'm stuck. I'm believing that we're in trouble. We're in trouble. That's where I'm at this morning. But we are going to talk about the real. But before, I want to give you a little of my reality. Probably about 2 years ago, I was stopped, coming off the interstate. And when I was stopped, and I guess I rolled, they said I rolled and didn't come to a complete stop. And two cars, not one, but two cars, kind of escorted me in. And I'm just listening to my gospel music, so I heard nothing, not a thing. And I was on my way to the podiatrist, and I remember just all of a sudden when I got to the light crossing over the railroad tracks, there was a light there at Pace Boulevard. And I said, oh my God, good morning, Rhonda, good morning, Lavenda. I was just absolutely stunned at the fact that there was a police car in front of me and one behind me. And they escorted me into wherever I pulled over. And it happened to be that I was right at my doctor's office, so I pulled in there, and they said, give us your registration ID. Well, I did. And, they told me to be real careful. Where was my registration? I said, in my glove compartment. That they said, well, that we want to see both hands, and one hand goes in and we'll watch you. And I'm like, what? This is Sandy. I don't bother anybody. But They rolled down my windows and said, your windows are almost too dark. We're getting ready to measure the amount of tint on the window. And I'm looking at them like, are you kidding? I said, well, I bought the car like this. I bought it from, the local dealership, and they never said there was a problem with the amount of tint in the windows. But they made sure I understood that I was being questioned about, one, I was driving a Beamer, and two, they wanted to know, more about me. And I'm looking at them like, you're asking me questions. So finally, when they got my car registration and my driver's license, at the bottom of the driver's license, I chose to write Dr. Sandra Winborn as opposed to just Sandra Winborn, only because I didn't know where I might be, that I might need that little title. Well, it ended up, good morning, Shelby. It ended up that they did, once they read that, they said, oh, you didn't stop through that stop sign. And so therefore, that's why we're stopping you. And I'm thinking, but it doesn't take two, two people. And if I had been somebody that was hostile, somebody that was upset and angst and very annoyed by this, disruption, because I was on the way to my doctor and I ended up being probably about 10 minutes late, that would have caused a problem. So sometimes just the matter that you're stopped also gives you this idea that you could be targeted. You could be, uh, just it could be for what you're driving or how you're looking, or how you might be standing, or whatever happens. But that was my real that day. And so last night when I was thinking about what do I need to discuss, I said we need to talk about real. Really, what is our reality? What is our reality? And so, as I do, I'm going to come up with a few things. But first, I'm going to ask you, are you stuck? Yes, we are stuck. We're all stuck. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you look like, but we're all stuck. We're stuck on how someone perceives us, how we may be looking, how we may dress, how we wear our hair, how we smile, how we where we live, what part of town, what we drive. We are stuck. We're stuck on things that are totally unnecessary, totally. And so we have to get into the point where we realize that something has to give. We have to have discussions. We have to. We have to not just continue as mothers, as wives, as sisters, as fathers, as sons, as uncles. We have to have the discussion, and discussion needs to be real about who we are and who we're trying to either raise them to be. And even if they're grown, sometimes still people need to be raised. Good morning, horse. People still need to be raised. They need to be raised on the fact that we were raised well. We were raised to be respectful. We were raised, and I think because we've been quiet so long, that the outrage that we see in the streets, that is the spillover. That is the result of years and years and years. And as they say in history, what happens will repeat. And I mean, so we had Rodney King. We've had, good morning, Miss Rosie. We've had so many incidents of where we have been taken to the max. Either in some way, our bodies have been hurt, bruised, broken, or our spirits are bruised and broken, or our lives are taken, over the years, and it just got in my spirit that I needed to have this discussion, and I don't have a big following, but what I have to say is big. It really is. It really talks about the fact that I believe that there's goodness in the world in all races. There's kindness in the world in all races. But sometimes one can take us down to the level of water. Water always sinks to its lowest point. Always. It may rise, but you have to talk about where it can go down to. And water, because of the liquidiness of it, it's gonna sink. It's gonna go down. And I find that that's what we sometimes do as people. We sink, we go down for whatever the reasons, for whatever the reason. Good morning, Shirley. We go down because we let people pull us down, So we're talking about our reality today. And that was my reality this morning. I watched all weekend off and on. I tried not to do too much of it, but it was in my wheelhouse to do. I needed to know what was going on. Sometimes we can shelter ourselves from what's going on, and sometimes we should not. We need to know what is being done, what is being said, and now what is being tweeted, what is being YouTubed, what is being LinkedIn, all these media formats, these media platforms have put out some things good, some things not so good, and some things horrible, you know. And I think anytime you're putting anything in the airways, it certainly should be respectful. Thank you. Good morning, T. It should be respectful. It should be factual. It shouldn't be wrong. It should be right. It should be true. And I think when we've had so much exposure of reading things that are inaccurate, reading things that are just so untrue, unnecessary, what I call minutia goes in our head, unnecessary, and it's unrelentless. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. So yes, I did get into it. I did want to know, and it started. I got to tell you how it started. It started where I watched a black woman on Facebook Live, crying about her reality of raising a black son and how horrified she was every time he leaves the house. And we have to let them go, but that doesn't mean that we're not in anguish every minute that they're gone. So so we have to look at what it does to us as mothers, what it does to us as aunts, as grandmothers, as sisters, as children, what it does to us as a people, that we would not worry about our offspring, because we're hoping that they get to see a long life. And then you wonder, if no one finds their life to be worth, staying around, worth being lived long, then they may become a statistic. Good morning, Lamont, my nephew in New York. We have to talk about these things. These things are vital. They're vitally important. I worry about my nephews in New York and my nephew in Atlanta, because these are young black men, and I'm thinking is, if you're stopped, do the right thing. But then you also have to pray that the person that has stopped them will do the right thing, and everyone has heard and seen, George Floyd's his expiring. Horrible. And basically he was killed, and it really has just lived with me all week long. But until I listened to a young woman talking about raising her son and worrying about the fact that he may not have a full life like you and I have so far. He may not get out of his 20s or his 30s, and in Mr. Floyd's case, his 40s. Life should be much more than that. What is the real? What is our reality is that it's possible, because they've shown it, on live TV, that it's possible that our lives could end without anyone feeling that's doing something to us has felt enough to stop doing what they're doing. So I was real troubled this morning. So I do apologize if it's not the original Are You Stuck? But I still have some of the Are You Stuck elements in here, because I believe our nation is stuck. I believe that I believe the president needs me. And that is a bold statement. But the thing about it is that his voice hasn't come out in support. His voice hasn't come out in recognition. His voice hasn't come out in what he should be talking about. And barely do I ever talk religion or politics to anybody. But this is not a politic thing. It has more to do with human life. This is humanity. We're talking about living, not dying. We're talking about loving, not hating. We're talking about being good and not being unkind. That's what we're talking about. So I'm gonna get off of that. For those of you who probably said, well, I've never heard her say much in those regards. That's true. I don't. I don't. But I worry about, you know, what will we all see this time next year, this time 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. And you see that it comes in cycles where it keeps happening. And you know, we have the pandemic, so we have a pandemic, and then now we have riots, and we have the realism of race. You know, racism, not just race. We have racism. The race would be, what do we need to do to fix it? What do we need to do? Part of it is that we need to have discussions. We need to have discussions, you know, real discussions. You know, what is it about me that you don't like? What did I ever do to you? You know, and for somebody to lose their life over $20 phony check, to me, the balance can never be equal. Ever. Never. So anyway, I'm going to try to do the rest of this, but here we go. It talks about today in the real, and I say, are you stuck? And it is true. I am a little stuck this morning, and it says, don't be beautiful. It says, they keep saying that beautiful is something a girl needs to be, but honesty, forget that. Don't be beautiful. Be angry. Be intelligent. Be witty. Be klutzy. Be interesting. Be funny. Be adventurous. Be crazy. Be talented. There are an eternity of other things to be other than beautiful. Good morning, Brett. And what is beautiful anyway? But a set of letters strung together to make a word. Be your own definition of amazing always, that it is so much more important than anything beautiful ever could be. Ever. Ever. The beauty is not on the external, even though you're fortunate enough, many of you may be fortunate enough to have that. That's wonderful. The beauty's on the inside, that you would be good, you would be kind, you would be caring, you'd be loving, you'd be trusting or trustworthy. That would be beautiful. That would be beautiful. And so that would be what we need right now. What we need right now. So anyway, in my discussion today, I wanted to talk about real, being real. And I think a lot of people walk around in a facade of being real. They're not real. They're not real. And it says real is being actual. It's an actual thing. You know, it's not imaginary. You know, it's not imaginary. It is true. It's a true observance of existence. It exists. You don't have to worry about it. It is what it is. And so I ask people, are you real? You know, and you know, kind of snooping around the internet yesterday, what I found. Good morning, my friend Janita, I love you. Anyway, it talks about, according to Forbes magazine, they have some things that talk about real. Now, I could really get into this and have fun with it, but I only wrote down 4 of them, and it talks about, if you're really talking about real, then you have to talk about understanding that people are certain things. The real people are. It says they do not try to make people like them. They don't try it. It's just not a necessary thing there. And the other thing of real would be genuine. So we're going to move the words back and forth. The other one, it says they're not desperate for attention. It is what it is. They don't worry about the attention. They worry about nothing. They're comfortable in who they are. It says the other thing, they can make an unpopular decision. They're not going to worry about what you think about them just because they've decided to make a decision. The decision is, this is how I am. This is what I believe. This is what I'm going to do. That's it. That's the bottom line. Okay? It says they don't pass judgment. They're not worried about how you're looking, you know, what you're wearing, where you're going, what you're driving. It's all good with them. It's all good. Therefore, it's wonderful. It's just a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing when you find that they're open-minded. I love people that are open-minded. Accept me as I am. You know, I know that I may, do my scarves and my, my little belts and my necklaces. That's me. That's my thing. But I want you to do your thing. I want you to have the thing that you do, that you're not worried about anybody's opinion of it. It is you. It's you. It says they forge their own path, meaning they don't need anybody else to tell them where to go, what to do. They're not worried about that. Good morning, Volda. Good morning, Jean. They're not worried about anything like that. All they're concerned about is just living their lives. And a lot of times, because we've allowed ourselves to be so overwhelmed and consumed by others, is that we don't know the life we need to live because we're living it through the eyes of someone else. Live it through your own eyes. Live it through what you want, what you need, what you care about, what you love. But sometimes we don't do that. And it says in their forging their own path, that means they have their own opinion, because they also believe that you have your own opinion. But if I take your opinion and it constantly has pretty much dampened me to form an opinion, then there's something lopsided with that, unnecessary. And it says they just know who they are and they're not concerned about the opinion you may have or what you believe. They believe the way they want to believe. They do. And so therefore that makes it vital. And the last thing I'm going to give you, and I'm going to come back to this because I do feel that this list was really good. And it says they're generous with their time and sometimes even with their knowledge and their resources. Meaning they're not worried about telling you something. Like I can honestly tell you that, I love doing what I'm doing. And sometimes I feel I should be paid. But I have to be honest. Not everyone has the money. Not everyone has the access. But through this vehicle, the platform is if you share it, then more people will be in a position that some other form of resource would come my way. So that's all I'm asking. Just share this. Share this video. Share my YouTube stuff. All of these videos are on YouTube. And the thing about them is that when I go back and listen to them myself, I'm also talking to me. There's almost like a training aspect to it. It wasn't the original intention, but I tell you, I get something out of it each time I go back. Each time I go back and listen. So anyway, they would do all of that for you. They'll give you some things, some nuggets that you didn't even know you were going to get. But anyway, when we break it down and we break down the word real, we start with reality. And it says the state of quality of being real. Real. Okay? It's the resemblance of what is real, or it's a real thing. It's a fact or it's an event. It is real. It's real to you. What's going on in the streets right now, that's real. Okay? That's real. You cannot do anything else with that. What happened to Mr. Floyd last week, a week ago today, that's real. It was there for everybody to see, even if you never watched it. You can know that it went on. You can know that a life was taken, But it talks about it's the realness of existence, the realness of truth, the realness of sensibility, the realness of absoluteness, the realness of validity, the realness of being, the realness of phenomenon, the realness of matter. My life should matter. So should yours. It should. That's our reality of being real. If we pay attention to what's going on in the world, that's not saying that you get so consumed in it that you don't know who you are. Never said that. It's meaning that you have enough where you see it and that information feeds back into you so you know what to do with it. Have a discussion with somebody. Somebody that you may not even know the person on a personal level. You may know them on a business level. Okay? But you may need to have that discussion. Is that the color has nothing to do with the heart. The color has nothing to do with the mind. The color has nothing to do with how you feel. It doesn't. It doesn't. And therefore, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee and some discussion about color. about color. You know, I can't change the color I'm in. You can't change the color you are in. But guess what? We can have a discussion that changes how we feel about the color. My color, your color, all the colors. You know, I keep saying, you know, that we came to this, what I call revolution, after once again we're seeing a life snuffed out, and so we have to talk about the real of that. So going forward, how would you evolve? What will you do with what you know? Will you continue to going back to your silo of quietness, your silo of prejudice, your silo of equal footing, meaning that you're not prejudiced, but you're not one who would take a step out on anything. You know, who are you? Who are you? So when we talk about the E of real, it's to evolve. It's developed gradually. I don't expect anybody to be able to do this quickly. Never. Can't do anything quickly. We didn't get here 400 years plus easily like this. Like there was a lot of death, you know. There was a lot of hurt. There was a lot of lives that were just lost in the midst of all the trouble they had, all the trouble they felt, all the trouble they seen. That's what happened 400 years, 400 plus years. So here we are today, and we still need to have a discussion, you know. And in a country that was born, that was basically birthed under the umbrella of religion, that sometimes we find ourselves, you know, searching for the people who should be speaking. We don't hear them. And the reason we don't hear them is because the streets have become louder than those in control and have an opportunity of power. And we only perceive them as having power because they show no power except when it is something that might be degrading, that might be putting people in a position of proneness. You know, I want somebody to evolve forward. You evolve. I want to evolve. So it talks about evolving is gradually, and especially from going from simple to a more complex form. Meaning the simple thing is we seen what happened. The simple thing is we know what we've experienced. The complexity of that would be, what do we do with it? What do we do with it? You know, that would be the complex thing. The next thing is being adamant. The A of real is adamant. Refusing to be persuaded or to change one's mind. Many of us are already there. You know, we've already formed an opinion about people. We've already formed an idea that these people are whatever you want to put in there, you know. And I'm going to tell you that prejudice can be on both sides. It's not, or all sides, you know. It can be prejudice, as I said, to me, it is grown. A baby comes here and the baby has to be taught right, wrong, good, bad, up, down, right, left. That's what the baby has to be taught. But if they see daily, or they see, you know, their parent never speaking positively about somebody that might be looking differently than them, that's a learning moment. It's a learning moment. And so we want to talk about, can you be adamant going forward that you would really look at something that you would be unmovable about, you would be unwavering about, you would be uncompromised, you would be you would be resolute about, you'd be determined and steadfast, you'd be dead set about these things which you know are not right. Are not right. We need to stand on it. We need to be placed in a position where we know we don't want to be prone anymore. We don't want to be on the ground. We don't want to be where the water is at its lowest level. We want to be up to the top where we're, where we're amongst those who are having discussion. We join in. We join in the discussion. And it doesn't mean that we're going to be able to have this discussion at the, at the state level or the federal level. We need to have it at the community level. We need to have it in our homes, which which boils over, rolls over into the neighborhood, and the neighborhood rolls into the community, and the community rolls into the city, and the city rolls into the, okay? I'm just saying, the discussions need to be had. They really do. The last word is leverage. It says it's the exertion of a form by means of a lever on an object used to in a manner of a lever, to meaning to move something by using something else. A leverage. And I've used this word before because I like it. I like this word. It says used in a manner of a lever, to grip something, to anchor something, to hold something, to grasp something, to force something, to form a friction, to find the strength. All those things talks about leverage. What leverage do we have? Do you have personally? Do you have any leverage? We all do. We don't always exercise our leverage. We don't find out that we have resources. We don't find out that we have people we could talk to. You know, it starts with one. It moves to two to three, and so forth and so on. But the conversations need to be had. They really and truthfully do. They do. You know, I hope I've touched a few people this morning, because I was touched. I tell you, I woke up with that spirit of I got to say something. You know, don't mean to offend anyone. Hoping everyone will come back. Hoping that people will share this video. But the question is, what is your reality? What is it? What's your true reality? What do you even write down? To me, this is a moment in your life that should be captured. You should be, instead of just this being a corona journal, it's also a journal where you can talk about what happened in the middle of the coronavirus. Journaling. What happened? Something happened. You know, even if you weren't a part of it, everyone in this country should be affected by the last week's events. And it's still going on. And it's still going on. And it's still going on. There's room for you to have a discussion. There's a need. There is a need. So I say, what is your reality? That's question number one. Number two, are you evolving? Do you think you can evolve out of this? We all will, but as I said, will we go back to being quiet? We go back to not asking questions? Because I have to be honest with you. My mother raised us to be always respectful to white people. We lived in New York, and they were born and raised in the South. But the older generation in my family, the older siblings, because my mother married twice and had two sets of siblings. I was at the end of the second set. The first set, they were old enough to be my parents. And what I found about them is that all of them were raised in the South. They had no use for the South. They had no attitude, am I ever going back down there? So when I moved down here and was trying to get them to come, they said, you must be crazy. Because they remember it as children, as young adults, as to what the South meant. Separate, not equal. You know, over there for them, over here for you. And certainly not with them. Separate, not equal. And so we have to talk about a time when all of those things existed. And so here we are, 2020. 2020, we always used to make fun of that because it always sounded like it was so far off. And it was going to be, a year where everything was going on. It was going to be so, forward. Here's what 2020 so far has been to me. It's been a reflective time. And it should have been a reflective time for everyone. 2020 is almost like vision. That means you should have the best vision forward than what you had in 2019 and 18 and 17 and so forth and so on. But the thing is, if you're going to change something, what would you change? And you could look at changing how you feel, changing what you've been exposed to. Because sometimes you may find out it takes a while for you to unlearn something. But it takes you less time to learn something new. Learn something new. It just takes less time. Learn about your neighbors. Learn about, somebody you don't know anything about. Ask them questions. Invite them to, a Zoom, where y'all just have a good time. In fact, one of the video that started all this off for me, she was actually Zooming with her coworker, who was her boss. And she said both of them were on their Zoom literally crying about what had transpired with Mr. Floyd, but also the fact that she feels this way about trying to get her son, who's 14, raised up, that even beyond 18, 19, 20, and so forth and so on, that he will have a life that he gets to see and live out his will as he would like. And she said, I don't know. She was absolutely boo-hooing. She had me boo-hooing too. The next question is, are you adamant about some things that you will not change or that you will change? Are you adamant? Are there some things that you know you need to change? And if they are, what are they? If you know you're not going to change some stuff, what are they? And the last one is, what leverage do you or will you use going forward? Now, if it regards what I've been talking about today, I've given some examples. Anybody want to talk to me? I'll try to make myself available. Because I personally feel that, racism brought the country together, and it's also pulling the country apart. When, back in 1619, okay? Here we are years and years and years later, and we're still struggling. We're still struggling. It shouldn't be a we over we. It shouldn't be them over us, or them less than us, them more than us. None of that. None of that. The real thing is we need to talk. We need to get down to the crux of the problem. And if people are feeling empowered by racism, they need to be brought down, because it's wrong. It's wrong. Even the country was built on, all men are created equal. I'm going to leave you with that. So anyway, I tell you, the poem was by Nikita Gill, called Don't Be Beautiful. Be real is basically what she's saying. Be who you are. Don't try to make yourself something you're not. And if you live like that all your life, come on out of there. Evolve. Evolve. What is your real reality? Come on out. What can you stand on? Stand on it. Don't give it up. Be adamant. And lastly, what you gonna do in terms of your leverage? Resources, meeting with people, something. Do something. Don't just be the silent. Don't be the silent. This is my platform. I'm praying that you will share it. I'm praying that you will let it be known that I was created to do just what I'm doing. And I'm trying to pull us all together as people, not as black people, not as white people, not as, beige people, whatever. I'm trying to pull it all together. And this is one way to do it. There's other ways. Now, I want you to have a good day. Remember, there are so many things that you could be doing. I appreciate the fact that you stopped by this space with me on this Monday, this first Monday in June, this first start. And when we start something, that means it's new. So I'm hoping that you have a wonderful new January 1st, and that you do everything that talks about you're being real, you're being one who's evolving, one who's adamant, and one who has found leverage. You have a wonderful day. I love you. I appreciate you. Please come back. Please share. Bye-bye.